Hello, good afternoon, everybody. This is Jonathan Musio with Accelerant. Welcome to another edition of the Accelerant webinar series. I'm going to give everybody a few more minutes to get settled, get their popcorn ready, and we'll get started in a few minutes. Good afternoon, everybody. I'm just going to give everybody a few more minutes to get settled before we get started. Hello, good afternoon, everybody. Thanks for carving some time out of your afternoon to join us on our webinar here today. My name is Jonathan Musio. I'm the Chief Business Development Officer. I'm really excited about some of the material that we're going to present to you guys today. I am accompanied here on this webinar today by Melissa Sheehan. She's our Chief Revenue Officer here at Accelerant. And today's webinar is going to be discussing leveraging tech and different types of tech that's out there in the marketplace to increase digital sales. And with that being said, I just wanted to kick off the agenda and some of the topics that we're going to be covering here today. I'm going to be going over first-party data, which is a very popular emerging form of technology that's being leveraged by publishers here today, specifically by leveraging a couple of different tactics. The first is local news retargeting, and the second is digitizing your audience. Then I'm going to kick it over to Melissa, and she's going to talk about how tech has been used to engage with local community, local advertisers in a variety of different capacities, including town halls and webinars that are educational in nature, as well as different types of event sponsorships. Next, we're going to cover some different advertiser strategies. I know that we covered a lot of these within previous webinars, but I think it's important to look at how they could be leveraged as the climate starts to improve and businesses start opening up and people start getting out of their houses more and more. And then lastly, there's a ton of R&D partners out there and a lot of digital marketing services providers out there that have access to tech or have proprietary technology that they can then in turn offer to their partners to leverage. And I'm going to talk about some of our technology that we provide our partners to make it easier for our partners to go out there and sell, including our RFP process and leveraging our account management team, as well as our proposal tool. We're going to be reviewing a brand new kind of sneak peek of our version 2.0 of our new proposal tool that we're going to be rolling out a little bit later on this year. And then lastly, reporting. How can you use technology within our reporting dashboard to go out there and increase digital sales? So first, I want to talk about first-party data, local news retargeting, which is an emerging capability. And I'm sure a lot of local media publishers here have, obviously you guys have a very exclusive audience that is very specific and exclusive to you. It's the main reason why advertisers obviously want to get in front of your audience, is because of some of the content and some of the different information that you're distributing through these different content channels. And another reason why I think that local news retargeting is becoming extremely popular is now is a great time to start leveraging this technology. Google announced earlier this year in January that they're going to be phasing out third-party cookies, and they're going to be relying upon more first-party data, volunteer data, as well as location-based data to target their, to enhance their targeting capabilities within that Google platform. And as such, if Google says something that's going to happen, obviously there's going to be other platforms that are going to fall in line. And then lastly, during COVID, right now, as well as other recent events that are taking place, we're seeing huge surges in terms of time spent online. It's increased tremendously. According to ComScore, online news consumption is up 43%. We've also seen an increase in social media usage and time spent on social media platforms like Facebook and Instagram. And then also, we're seeing more time spent on mobile devices. There's a stat that came out that said that there's the forecasts are 23 more minutes per day spent on mobile devices than what was initially forecasted at the beginning of the year. And that's no question been impacted by COVID, as well as some of the recent events here today. So what is local news retargeting? Online publishers are placing what we call a master pixel, which is a small piece of code in the header or footer section of their website. Once it's placed on that publisher's website correctly, it would then be disseminated and passed through every single page on that publisher's website. That master pixel will then start creating a pool of people from which we can retarget. And this retargeting pool is comprised of people who are reading content on your publication's website. Publishers can then leverage this first-party targetable audience from different people, from different devices that are consuming content on their website to create advertising packages that include local news retargeting. And also, we're seeing a lot of success with publishers incrementalizing existing online website advertisers to include this local news retargeting tactic. Here's a case study of a new publisher partner that launched a partnership with Accelerant in April of this past year. And they launched the partnership exclusively wanting to roll out the local news retargeting tactic only. They didn't want to leverage any other programmatic services or social media or paid search, nothing else. They just wanted to focus on selling local news retargeting. And since that launch of the partnership in the beginning of April, they sold 8 local news retargeting campaigns to existing online advertisers, which resulted in $20,000 in gross incremental digital revenue since the onset of the partnership, which I think is pretty tremendous. And we're seeing other publishers have very similar success in terms of activating this tactic to those existing website advertisers. The next tactic I want to talk about is digitizing your audience and leveraging that first-party data to in that subscriber database or email address database that you have to create custom audiences that we can use to create targetable audiences with and execute campaigns on. This is a great way to add incremental revenue opportunities to owned and operated assets. And the main reason being is that it allows you guys to create and generate digital revenue without having to focus on selling digital. It's just focusing on selling your audience. This same technology can also be used by your advertisers. I know that there's a lot of clients that have access to databases of known customers and people that have transacted with them. We can take their database and do the same exact thing. We can digitize it and we can create a campaign that allows that advertiser to target their known customers. And then also we can create custom audiences on social media platforms like Facebook, as well as Instagram, by using an email address database. I know there's a lot of publishers out there that capture email addresses and create newsletter campaigns. Well, this is another way to add value to some advertisers that want to target people that you're distributing that newsletter to, by also delivering display ads or video ads to those same email addresses that have created a profile on Facebook or Instagram. We're going to show you about how that is accomplished here over the course of the next couple of slides. So how does it work? First, it starts off with the publisher providing us with a physical address database of subscribers or email addresses that get delivered a magazine, a newspaper, direct mailer, a newsletter on an ongoing basis. And then what AdSeller will do is, first, we will match the number of devices that reside at that residential address of your subscriber database. So we can identify all the mobile devices at each one of your subscribers' address locations. And then once we do that, conduct that reverse append, we'll get an idea as far as how many devices we can target, how many total impressions we can target with that new audience that's been created of your subscribers' mobile devices, and then create packages, with the publishers that include your print publication, your online website, as well as display ads or video ads to target the mobile devices of your subscribers. This creates easy incrementalization opportunities for sales reps and publishers. We find that advertisers, they obviously want to get in front of your audience, and this is just another way for them to get in front of your audience. And thus, it creates those very easy incremental opportunities to have those discussions with advertisers. And again, lastly, the idea is that we can generate digital revenue by not having your team focus on selling digital. They're just focusing on selling your audience. All right, so here's a couple of sample packages that we created for a couple of different partners that blend in with owned and operated platforms. There are a couple of different packages that vary based on how many monthly impressions we are using to target that subscriber database, the mobile devices of your subscribers. And these were built utilizing AdSeller and suggested retail rates. Because of the fact that this is first-party data and it's exclusive to you publishers, you guys can upsell this and mark it up even further, even more if you want to activate and realize higher profit margins towards selling your audience. And also another cool thing about this digitizing of your audience, as you can see down here below, we can provide you guys with a foot traffic attribution report to show how many of your subscribers were targeted with ads that then came into the physical brick and mortar locations of your online or print advertisers. And I have an example of a success story here on the next slide. This was a digitized audience campaign that we executed on behalf of a city regional magazine based out of Fort Worth, Texas. And you can see it was for a plastic surgery client. They sold this plastic surgery client 144,000 impressions over the month of March to target the mobile devices of their subscribers. You can see how much traffic we were able to generate, 189 clicks and a 0.13% click-through rate. But you can see below how many responses we were able to visualize and actualize that belonged to their subscribers. 13 subscribers ended up going to the physical brick and mortar location of this plastic surgery client, resulting in 30 total visits across those 13 devices. The client was extremely satisfied. The publication was extremely satisfied. I believe it was a $2,500 retail campaign. And I couldn't tell you what the wholesale costs were, but the profit margins that they were able to realize that off of that, as well as the unique aspect of the campaign, led to satisfaction both with the publisher as well as with the advertiser. So with that being said, I want to kick it over to Melissa Sheehan, our Chief Revenue Officer, to talk about how tech can be used to engage your community.
Thanks, Jonathan. A lot of people have been staying at home or under safer at home orders, but that doesn't mean that you can't continue to engage your community. In fact, now it's more important than ever. And so we're going to talk about some tactics that some of our partners have been using, both early on as stay-at-home orders came in and ongoing. So first of all, we had a lot of partners that were interested in making sure that they had the right news and information out in front of their community, even though they might not be meeting with them face-to-face. And so they hosted town hall meetings. You know, as a community leader, the media companies have the opportunity to both share the news and also to engage with the community and host an open forum to gain information from the community as well. So the goal for them was really to provide information. They combined advertising and editorial. They wanted to show how they were covering the pandemic. They wanted to show their new business directory where they had up-to-date resources on closures or how to communicate with businesses. They used Zoom as a platform. There's lots of platforms that you can use, lots of different technologies to be able to communicate with the community. But they also wanted to gain insights on what the business owners and others needed in that time. They hosted government officials to draw more users, to relay important information about what was going on. You know, a great byproduct of that, you know, was really that they grew their database of both business and community contacts for future events and efforts. It's a great time to really come together, make sure that your community knows that you as a media company are there for them, and to gain the feedback that you need in order to make decisions. Using technology like Zoom, reaching out to your email subscribers, advertising this on your social media pages, on your websites, are really great ways to use that technology to bring people in and communicate so that you can make better decisions on how to inform and advertise in the future. The next one we're going to talk about is virtual event sponsorships. A lot of our publishers rely on events in order for advertising dollars. And so some of them had to pivot really quickly. Hosting a virtual event is a great way to work with the business community. It's a great way for you as a publisher to gain sponsorship dollars around those events. I heard of one where they were actually working with local musicians, and then they were able to do a concert, and then they were able to gain sponsorships from local restaurants and bars that were still open and doing delivery in order to advertise around that music showcase online. So the benefit of this virtual sponsorship, first and foremost, is really to assist local businesses in recovery efforts. Engaging with new audiences who might not be current readers or current viewers. A lot of people are really looking for things to do, and this is a great way to offer them that. And to connect with local businesses, to connect those local businesses with current and prospective customers, and creating a revenue stream to help offset lost events advertising. We've got a case study. We have a partner who worked with a local restaurant and a well-known chef in the area. What they wanted to do is they wanted to inform consumers about the services the restaurant was offering during this new normal. They also wanted to raise funds for the local restaurant association relief fund, helping these restaurants recover from being closed during stay-at-home orders or only being able to offer delivery. So what they did is they used their chef to create a virtual cooking demo. So it was hosted by the chef. It leveraged tips and tricks behind the perfect barbecue. They communicated with these registrants over email and over, they used BrightTalk for this particular event, which can actually host videos for a long time. They offered that meal kit, those ingredients, and then allowed attendees to virtually cook alongside the chef. They were able to gain 316 registrations. They had 54% attendee engagement. By using some of the technology like a BrightTalk, they were able to also see how many people viewed the video after the fact, and they had $3,000 in fundraising for the Restaurant Association. They were thrilled with the event and thought it was wonderful to be able to connect with a lot of different demographics and new guests and clients for the business. So this is a great way, if you think about your community being at home, maybe looking for things to do. As things open up, these are the creative ideas that you can leverage this technology to help businesses really engage with these folks and become long-term customers in the future as things open up. One of the most popular things that we've seen is really hosting an educational webinar directed towards business owners. Right now, we know that consumers are really, even if they're out of the house and moving around, some of them are still being a little bit cautious and buying online. Online sales are up 52% since the pandemic started, and eMarketer estimates that even older generations are going to be using online for, the nearby and maybe long-term future. And these business owners in your community are really thirsty for information on how they can leverage advertising, specifically well-targeted digital advertising, to get in front of customers who might not be in store as much in the near future. So we're going to talk about a case study. We had one partner did a series of webinars, and they really wanted to focus, similar to how we are, on how to use tech to recover faster. And so they used and highlighted a few different products. They used Device ID, which we'll talk about a little bit later, email, and video. Over those 3 webinars, they had a total of nearly 200 people register, and an average of 62 local businesses that were attending on each webinar. They had 5 new deals so far had come out of these 3 webinars. And I'll tell you, they've been held. One was yesterday. There was a one 2 weeks ago, and then 2 weeks prior to that. The average deal size for those new deals was over $8,000. They also had current customers that were on those webinars, learning how they, as a media company, could help those businesses promote themselves and get in front of customers during this crucial time. They had 3 upsells that totaled $4,000 a month in incremental revenue. And they've had 10 appointments. They have 4 different divisions of their business. They've had 10 appointments just for one of those, and they're averaging 3 to 5 new appointments per webinar, including 2 from the one that we did yesterday. So these are some great ways to really engage your community using technology like Zoom, Eventbrite. This particular partner is even recording all of these webinars and hosting them on their YouTube channel, putting them out on Facebook, letting the business community and the general community know that they are really working to offer ideas and solutions during this important time. We're going to talk next about advertiser strategies. So these are strategies that you can use to brainstorm with your advertisers. And we have a ton of information about using advertising technology to help your clients. Today, we're just going to talk about 3 high-level tactics that we see working really well right now: Device ID, email, and our newest solution called Digital Storefront. We won't spend a ton of time, but just know that you can reach out to us anytime for more information. The Device ID technology that we use is more advanced than that geofencing that you may have heard of in the past. We have the ability to be as precise as possible, the 4 walls of a building, even a piece of a shopping center if you really wanted to hone in on an exact location. And this is perfect for the times we are in, because this is a look-back technology. We can look back as recent as 5 days ago and as far back as 6 months. So pre-COVID, we can look at businesses or like a restaurant or a shopping center where people were shopping and gathering pre-COVID, pre-stay-at-home orders, and serve ads to them today. So it's a great way to get in front of either your customers, your competitors' customers, or your community as an advertiser to update them about what's going on with your business today. Few ways to use this. Visitor targeting, that would be a business targets their own users who were in their restaurant or in their location in the past. Conquest targeting, same thing, but looking at your competitors' locations. And then the opportunity to use household extension. That means once I get an audience from a particular location, I follow that cell phone home, and then I'm able to serve ads to everyone else connected to that IP address. So not just their cell phone, but their tablet, their device, and their desktop computer. And that allows us to look at lookalike targeting, because we're also able to tap into a lot of census data, get information and demographics. The best part about this technology is the attribution. Jonathan mentioned this a minute ago, being able to provide foot traffic attribution. based on a cell phone, seeing that ad and then visiting a location. But not just that, you're also able to do a matchback. Let's say that you don't have a brick and mortar location as a business. We can match back to your CRM, using like a plumber as an example. They are going out and visiting a home. We can see if they give us information about the specific people that they visited, then they're able to also see what clients had been served an ad and then got a visit from the customer. Next, we're going to talk about email. Email is a really great tool to communicate, and I bet like me, you're receiving a lot of emails these days just with updates on what your companies are doing and what the community is doing in response to recent events. There's two ways to utilize email. One, use your current database. Target your current customers. You can do this both as a media company. You can suggest this for your advertisers. And then there's a second way to conquest new customers. And we call this programmatic email. This is a list of more than 140 million people who have opted in and chosen to receive specific offers and information. It's a double opt-in list, and so it's very CAN-SPAM compliant, and it allows you the ability to extend your audience. We love email because you can see it on multiple platforms, and it's there when you want, whether you're on the go or in your home across all of these devices. It's also got a longer shelf life. I can keep an email and come back to it. It doesn't mean I'm going to read it right away, but it's a great way for you to be able to reach out to your customers or your readers or viewers. The targeting options are really great, and we know that more than 60% of businesses are going to lean on better targeting to make sure that they're not wasting ad impressions. And so using things like buying activity and shopping habits, targeting folks that we know have children of certain ages, health habits, techies, income and wealth, occupation. It's great for business-to-business marketing as well. So make sure that as a media company, if you are also looking to target folks, that you consider email as a great option. The metrics that we look for is, both email reporting, Google Analytics, and again, we can do a matchback because every email that we send is associated with a USPS address. So we know that if somebody becomes your customer, we can match that address back to our email list and prove that they became a customer and were touched by that email. We recently worked with a partner who really wanted to use email to drive a subscription to their email newsletter. Like I mentioned before, connecting to your community and growing that database is a great time for it. And so what they did is they sent an email blast with a clear message asking people to opt into their email newsletter to get great information. They had 1,000 visits to their website and 400 new subscribers to their email newsletter. It was a huge success, and they continue to use this tactic today. So it's a great way for a media company or a business owner to really connect and gain new customers in their database. The last thing that we're going to talk about is e-commerce. If you as a business or as a media company aren't really looking at e-commerce, now's the time. We know already that 85% of shoppers are researching products online before purchasing. But in April, 41% of people said that they had shifted more shopping from physical stores to online. That was up from 13% a month prior, and we expect that to continue. This chart shows us the increased spending in several different categories. As a media company, these are the categories that I would be prospecting. I would be talking to these folks about how are you advertising to your customers. And as things open up, look at this second part of the chart. Those who had decreased spending, they may need to get the word out about how they're interacting with community and how they can do business with customers today. So these are great ways. In order to address this need, we've developed a package called Digital Storefront. This is a service to help brick and mortar companies transition into the competitive landscape of e-commerce. And so as we move into situations where some people may be spending more time at home and continuing to buy online, it's really important to meet your customers where they are as a business. So we've got 3 different packages that we put together. The first one is for a local business that already has e-commerce and maybe just hasn't been promoting it. I've talked with several partners. They have furniture stores or jewelry stores who have had e-commerce for a long time. They just didn't have a need to really advertise it. And so this is a great package that we know works really well to advertise the e-commerce they already have. These second and third packages are really designed for businesses that don't have e-commerce yet. These are managed packages where we will help set that up and then promote to their target market to make sure whether they are a small customer or a large customer that they have the right e-commerce solutions in place. Businesses to talk to about this really are going to be, prospects that know a lot about their average order value. They may have multiple locations and a good sized marketing budget. It could be, clothing boutiques, home goods, furniture stores, jewelry stores, local pet supplies that have multiple locations would be great. High-end restaurants even. We can, with e-commerce, it doesn't have to simply be, purchasing a product. You can also make reservations. You can also request a quote. Let's say it's for a home improvement or a home services company. So think about the types of companies and check out their website. It's really easy for you to prospect and say, hey, I noticed that you don't have e-commerce. Let's talk about some solutions that might be good for you. We've been working with a children's retailer, already an established brand, but they needed a fresh perspective on e-commerce to grow their brand. And so what we did is we enabled them to really market their e-commerce. They saw revenue growth of almost 87%. They saw an increase in their conversion rates and new users. If you're not thinking about e-commerce today, I'd really encourage you to either reach out to us or to somebody that you know that is well-versed in the e-commerce space to help you and your customers really lean on that going forward. I'm going to kick it back to Jonathan to really talk a little bit more about how you as a media company can leverage some resources to get to those advertisers faster, to get solutions to them that they need today.
Thanks, Mel. Yeah, so as I was talking about, there's a lot of R&D partners out there that have proprietary technology that has been created to enable partners to go out there and sell more, create efficiencies, and just work in conjunction with everything that they're trying to accomplish from a digital standpoint. And I wanted to introduce a couple of different tools that AdCellerant provides partners for them to go out there and obviously close more business. And the first is the RFP process. I don't know if you guys are all using this RFP process in the support portal to submit a request for proposal for your dedicated account manager and your dedicated account coordinators to put something together for you. I think that this is a great way to increase your team's bandwidth so that your team can focus on bottom line driving activities. That means instead of dealing with the minutia of having to build a proposal themselves, they can log into the support portal, supply their dedicated account manager with all the criteria tied to that advertiser's opportunity based on their knowledge of the client through a CNA, a needs analysis, like what their target audience is, what their target goals and objectives are, who their competitors are, what kind of budgets are they working with, what kinds of platforms are they using right now. You can supply your dedicated account manager all that information within this request for proposal ticket, and that account executive will put together recommendations for you. And I think that this is a good time to lean on the account management team, because these guys are building hundreds of proposals every single day for a variety of different industries and a variety of different partners. And I think that it's great to leverage and lean on their insights that they can provide you from those different proposals that they've created, some of the different tactics that they've leveraged, some of the unique targeting options that they maybe have included within some of the proposals that they've created. So I think it's good to kind of tap into that knowledge, those insights that they can provide. And you can be assured that you're going to be able to get that proposal back, that white label proposal back within 3 business days. And oftentimes, it's actually a lot sooner than that. So I think that RFP process, I think it's a tremendously important tool and aspect to a service that we provide our partners that I think could absolutely be leaned on a little bit more to achieve those efficiencies within your sales team. The next is reporting. And I know that reporting and automation with reporting is something that is, obviously, I think it's something that should be included in every single type of campaign, but I don't think it's necessarily leveraged enough. There's an opportunity for partners to leverage the dashboard's ability to automatically create reoccurring reports to be generated into an advertiser's inbox every single week or every single month. And you can also customize what they see within that report when they get that delivered every single week or every single month. So it's controlling, obviously, what it is that they see and maybe kind of reducing it down to just the most high level pieces of information that are important for their campaign. But the idea is that you're using automation to create a touch point with an advertiser so that you don't have to go into the reporting dashboard, pull that report, create a new email, attach this report to that email, and then send it off. It's done for you automatically. And I think that that's a valuable feature within our reporting dashboard to automate those touches. And then leveraging that automation to potentially use that as a way to open up a discussion and set up a meeting with that advertiser to discuss that report and some of the key metrics and some of the areas where we are seeing improvement, and also areas where we could potentially optimize and shift budget accordingly. And then next, I want to talk about our new proposal tool. I'm sure that a lot of you guys are familiar with the fact that we are going to be rolling out a brand new proposal tool to our partners a little bit later on this summer. I wanted to give a sneak peek into some of the key features and some of the updates and the functionality that's going to be included within this new version of the proposal tool. And this first screen, when you log into the proposal tool, it's going to take you to what we call Campaign Hub. It's going to show the status of every single proposal that has been created by your team, as well as every single proposal that's been created for you on your behalf by your account manager. So you can see if that proposal is ready to be delivered and ready to be presented. You can see if that proposal has been agreed to by an advertiser and you have sold it. You can mark it as sold. We can also see what the status is of that proposal after it has been activated in traffic. We can see if it is live or if it's pending and we still need some assets to get that campaign live. It's going to provide a clear visibility and transparency into the status of every single proposal and every single campaign across all your entire publications ecosystem. Another key feature is going to be different types of paths that you can choose. And the first path that you can choose is a recommendation engine, which is similar to what our current proposal tool currently provides. It builds goal-based, geo-based, and industry-based recommendations for several different digital marketing platforms like programmatic display, OTT, video pre-roll, paid search, email, SEO. Excuse me. You can also upload your owned and operated platforms within this proposal environment as well. In the recommendation engine, it leverages technology, API technology, to allow us to communicate and speak to different forecasting providers like Google. You know, Google has a paid search traffic estimator tool. And our proposal recommendation engine will API directly into that that Google search engine traffic estimator tool to provide paid search forecasts and how many searches are being conducted within a geography for specific keywords, and what your average cost per click could be for every single keyword, and how many clicks you could expect for every single keyword as well. So there's a ton of recommendations that are being generated through science and through forecasting data providers that are going to be API directly into that proposal environment. The next is going to be a manual proposal tool. This is going to be more transactional. If you know an advertiser wants to order 100,000 impressions of dominant blend programmatic display, you can easily build that manual proposal without having to go through the process of creating a recommendation. You can actually just submit an order through this manual proposal process. And then the last is going to be the AdMix budget-based recommendation. All right, so this is the first functionality that we're going to be rolling out in August. I believe it's going to be rolled out internally August 1st for our account management team to build recommendations utilizing that functionality. We are then going to be rolling it out to our partners once we have a chance to test it out and work out any bugs or any other features that need to be updated before we roll it out to our partners in earnest a little bit later on this summer. And then also we're going to have the ability to allocate monthly budgets differently, during different times of the year. So if we're looking at this as an example, it's a $15,000 budget that's going to be spent over September, October, November, and December. What we could do is if we wanted to allocate more budget towards the end of the year, Q4, when sales are increasing, we can absolutely easily do that within this proposal environment. As well as from a geographical standpoint, I'm going to ask Mel to advance to the next slide. From a geographical standpoint, you're going to have the ability to incorporate and identify key census data features based on the geographies and zip codes that we're targeting. So you can look at race distribution, home build year, household income, other demographics like age range segmentation, household income segmentation, home ownership segmentation. All of that is going to be available within this proposal environment to allow our partners and their sellers the ability to showcase some really interesting information with regards to how this proposal is being constructed and if it is hitting the right target audience as a result of some of the information that we have access to. And then also from a proposal output standpoint, it's going to be more beautiful in terms of some of the different features and elements that we can include into that proposal output. There's also going to be different ways that you can export into different formats if you want to as well, or if you want to export into a landscape or a horizontal type of version of the proposal. All of that's going to be available and be customized within this new proposal tool. And again, we're going to be rolling this out August 1st internally for our account management team to build proposals with first and work out some of the bugs before we launch this and roll this out to our partners in earnest, hopefully a little bit later on that month. So some key takeaways that we wanted to really kind of drive home is, first of all, is to use your data, use your first party data. It's exclusive to you. It's exclusive to your advertisers. And you can't get that information, that data anywhere else. And now is a great time to obviously leverage that data that you have access to.
We also really want to encourage you to engage your community. Use the technology that you have with your website, through your social media channels, through things like Zoom and other different platforms, to make sure that you're connecting with them, hearing what they need from you, and offering some educational responses for what they need. And then strategize with your advertisers. They need help more than ever on tactics to use to connect with customers. If you need some ideas, we run thousands of advertising campaigns every month to be able to really, give you some ideas about what's working in another market, what industries are advertising today, how are they advertising, and these are things that you can pass on to your local business community as well.
And then lastly, the tools for your team. There's a lot of R&D partners out there, including Accelerant, that have proprietary technology and tools to allow your team to go out there and focus on building relationships, servicing existing customers, prospecting for new business. And these tools are meant to go out there and enable you guys to sell more, create efficiencies, and just get the job done. So with that being said, guys, just want to thank you on behalf of everyone here at Accelerant, for again taking time out of your day to learn a little bit more about some of the tech that's being leveraged out there in the industry today to increase digital sales. And we wanted to open it up to some questions. So if you guys had some questions, you can use the chat feature to chat us some questions, and we'd be happy to address that.
One of the questions that we did receive asked about how maybe an owned and operated platform, your own website and the advertising that you sell on your media website, how that could integrate with our reports.marketing. There are several integrations that we have available. We would just need to have a quick conversation about what platform you're using and how we could, you know, accommodate that all-in-one reporting dashboard for you, whether you were just looking at your own advertising on your website or integrating some of the audience extension. We've got another question here asking if we have a recommended number of page views or impressions for starter packages. That's a great question. You know, it really depends on the geographic area that you're advertising in. The great thing about the tools we have access to is that we're able to see how many people are really in your target market are online and give you a solid estimate about what your share of voice would be, depending on the targeting that you're using and then depending on the geographic area. So it's one of those things that if you gave us kind of a radius or a list of zip codes or a city, and then you told us the targeting that you would like to reach, we can actually access that information and then give you some more custom information back for those starter packages.
I see that there's another question from Amy. I apologize, I can't pronounce your last name, but it's in reference to what tools can be used for prospecting. And there's a few tools that I love to use for prospecting. The first is called WooRank, which is an SEO kind of audit tool that provides a real quick snapshot of the performance of an advertiser's web and digital footprint. There's another tool that I love to use, it's called Ghostery. And Ghostery is an extension that you can install on a Chrome browser. And Ghostery will show you what types of trackers, you know, what types of pixels are placed on that advertiser's website. And it could help determine what kinds of advertising they might be using. So you might be able to see a trade desk pixel through that Ghostery plugin and that extension on Chrome. You could see that they're maybe using trade desk, so they might indicate that they're using some type of programmatic solution. You might see a Facebook pixel, a retargeting pixel or conversion pixel within Ghostery. Obviously, it tells you that they're probably spending money on some type of social media. And the same thing with Google paid search and other pixels that can be found in there. So Ghostery is a great tool just to kind of identify if an advertiser might be spending money on different types of digital advertising based on the pixels and the tracking mechanisms that they have installed on their website. And another tool I love to use is Google. Honestly, I just love to type in searches for keywords tied to advertisers' businesses to see where it is that they rank organically on the Google search engine result pages, or if they are populating ads at the top of the search engine result pages through an AdWords campaign. And then the same thing with Facebook. And seeing Facebook and what their presence is like on Facebook. Are they getting engagement? Are they regularly posting content? Are they posting good content? You know, so those are just some of the tools that I know I use, and that's just really just the tip of the iceberg with some of the tools that we recommend some of our partners and their sellers go out there using.
I see another question about how do you leverage email if you don't have subscriber addresses. You know, a lot of publications are free all over town. One of the things that I would encourage you to do would be, you know, to leverage either, you know, programmatic email where we can look at where you deliver all over town, look at who's opted into a programmatic email, and work with somebody like us or somebody else in order to send them a dedicated email. That's what the case study did. That, you know, that was a location or a publication that didn't have a lot of subscriber data, but they wanted to gain it. So they used that programmatic email in order to get in front of those customers and then gain their information. You know, they were saying, sign up now for free local information. Local information has never been more important. So that's one of the tactics I would use. We can also use several other targeting techniques, targeting specifically even down to the block if we wanted to do some, you know, geofencing and hit those folks that way.
I also see there's a question from Rick regarding device ID. And device ID is absolutely one of the coolest, creepiest platforms that's being leveraged by advertisers today. And that device ID platform is there's two ways that you can match mobile device IDs. The first is through a look back functionality that allows us to identify devices that were in a location in the past. And this is accomplished through location services that are enabled on mobile devices. Your location is being pinged up to the cloud multiple times per day, and you have no idea that that's happening. And it's usually because of the fact that you have your location services enabled for like Google Maps and for the weather app and for Tinder and for news apps and any other type of app out there that you want to kind of leverage those location services to enhance its functionality and provide you more proximal results based on what your location is. Well, your location is being pinged hundreds of times per day sometimes, and we're able to develop trends based on where on where your device's location is being pinged. I don't know if you guys have ever seen an instance where you're on Google Maps and Google Maps says, pops up a notification saying, "Are you heading home right now?" And that's accomplished through those trends that are being identified through that Google Maps app to understand what times you're typically going to certain places. So it's providing that recommendation, just based on the different trends tied to that specific device. And once we are able to kind of harvest those mobile device IDs that were in a location in the past, we can provide a ton of insights around those devices. Like what age range of those devices are we seeing? What's the population? What's the household income of those devices? Where do they reside? What zip code do they live in? All that information is available to us through those trends within your location data that's available within every single device. I can go on and on talking about it, Rick, honestly. So if you want to set up a call to talk about that in greater detail, I'd love to connect offline with you on that.
One other question from Sammy. In the town hall meetings, what's the mix between newsroom and advertising? I think it's changed since the pandemic started. Early on, editorial played a lot bigger role in those town halls, just because news and information really needed to get out. They also, wanted to hear from the community on what they were covering, and they wanted to tell the community how they were covering the pandemic. Since then, what I've seen partners do is really kind of shift the focus toward the business community and how do we help the business community recover faster. And so that's been more on the advertising side, really talking to them about what have we seen businesses do that's successful, how are they advertising and gaining new customers, how to address customer loyalty, which is another webinar that we did recently, and all kinds of different topics. And so we've really seen kind of that advertising department come out and engage that business community in those discussions more recently. Great question.
Here's another good question, Rick. From I believe that you're from Advocate Magazine. You say that you don't have subscriber addresses, but you want to know if we can scrape addresses in your targeted delivery area and turn those into device IDs. Absolutely. If you have an area, device ID, typically, I think we use different events and different brick and mortar locations to look back on. But I've seen instances where we are creating a historical geofence over neighborhoods and pulling devices from an entire neighborhood if we want to. So that's something that we could potentially look at incorporating. And if you are saturating with your circulation a specific neighborhood or a specific town or wherever that might be, we can absolutely try to create some type of audience for you by matching the mobile device IDs through a historical geofence within that specific, the zip code, town, whatever that might be. But that's something that is worth exploring and trying to build with you, Rick. Awesome. I think that we covered all the questions here today. It was really good engagement, really good feedback from everybody. So I really appreciate everybody inquiring more about some of these things that we covered here today. I don't know if there's any more. Mel, I think that we're good here. And again, I just wanted to thank everybody for taking the time out. We're going to be sharing the presentation as well as Megan, we are recording it, so we can also share the video recording of this as well. I just want to thank everybody again for taking the time out, and also want to thank Mel for doing a great job here today as well.
Yeah, Jonathan, thanks so much. If you need to connect with us, we're available for whatever you need. If it's just a brainstorm, just to talk a little bit more, don't hesitate to reach out to us. You can find our smiling faces at accelerant.com and ways to reach us there.